Deep in the forests of Viridian Prime, every colonist knows one rule: stay inside after dark. The apex predators out there don't just hunt, they coordinate, they plan. They've killed trained soldiers in under 30 seconds. But one human walked into that forest alone. No weapons, no backup team. Just a survival pack, and what everyone called either pure stupidity or incredible confidence. 3 weeks later, he walked back out, and he wasn't alone. Two of the forest's deadliest predators followed behind him, like house pets. The creatures that had terrorized an entire colony for 5 years. The same species that wiped out the first research team. Now they were taking commands from a single human and sleeping outside his quarters. The Alien Council demanded answers. Military scientists called it impossible, but the truth behind what happened in those 3 weeks will shock you. Here's what nobody expected. First, these apex predators weren't actually the most dangerous thing in that forest. Second, the human didn't tame them through dominance or fear. The method he used contradicts everything we thought we knew about predator behavior. And third, what he discovered about Earth humans during this process has alien species rewriting their entire classification system for our kind. Every expert said it couldn't be done. The survival rate for humans alone in that forest was 0%. The predators had never shown pack behavior with any species outside their own. Yet somehow, in less than a month, everything changed. The military wanted to weaponize his technique. Scientists wanted to study him, but what he told them made everyone go silent. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Viridian Prime wasn't supposed to be dangerous. When human colonists arrived 6 years ago, initial scans showed a paradise world. Rich soil, clean water, breathable atmosphere, perfect for farming colonies. The problems started 3 months after landing. Workers kept disappearing from the forest edges, not injured, not attacked, just gone. Security footage showed nothing. No bodies, no blood trails, just empty fields where someone had been standing seconds before. Then the research team went in. 12 trained xenobiologists with full combat escort. They had motion sensors, thermal imaging, and enough firepower to stop a charging dreadnought. None of them came back. The colony went into lockdown. Nobody goes past the fence line. Nobody enters the forest. Those were the new rules. But people still needed to know what was out there. Drones didn't work. Something jammed their signals 50 meters into the tree line. Satellites couldn't penetrate the dense canopy. The forest kept its secrets. That's when they finally captured footage. An automated camera trap caught 3 seconds of movement. The creature moved so fast the video looked glitched, but enhanced frames showed the nightmare clearly. 8 feet tall, 6 limbs ending in curved talons, armor plating along the spine, eyes that reflected light like mirrors. The xenobiology database had nothing even close. They called them Shrikes after an earth bird that impaled its prey on thorns. Here's the surprise. Shrikes hunted in coordinated pairs. Military analysts confirmed they used actual tactics, flanking maneuvers, ambush positions. One would drive prey toward the other. These weren't just predators, they were strategic killers. The colony had 300 people, and enough supplies for 8 months. No rescue ships were scheduled for another year. Everyone stayed inside. Farmland outside the fence went unused. Food supplies started running low. Then Jack Reeves volunteered. Not a soldier, not a scientist, just an agricultural tech who'd grown up on the Arctic stations of Earth. He'd spent his childhood in places where nature wanted you dead. He understood something everyone else had missed. The military said no. The council voted against it. But Jack walked to the fence one morning. Before anyone could stop him, he opened the gate and stepped into the forest alone. Now here's where things get really interesting. Jack didn't bring weapons because he understood one critical thing about predators. They can smell fear and aggression from incredible distances. Every failed attempt to explore that forest had the same problem: heavily armed teams radiating threat signals, drones buzzing loudly through the canopy. Even the camera traps used electronics that probably hummed at frequencies the Shrikes could detect. Humans were announcing themselves as either prey or competing predators. Both categories meant one thing to Shrikes: attack. Jack's approach was different. He brought food, not bait, not supplies to last him weeks. Actual meals he prepared, and ate calmly at the forest edge for 3 full days before entering. The Shrikes watched him. He could feel eyes on him constantly, but he never looked directly at them, never made sudden movements, just sat there eating, maintaining his equipment, and sleeping in plain view. On day 4 he walked slowly into the forest. He followed game trails, stopped frequently, made noise so nothing would be surprised by his presence. And critically, he never acted like prey running away or a predator hunting. He acted like he belonged there. Here's what the biologists missed. Shrikes weren't territorial about space. They were territorial about resources. The research team had crashed through the forest studying plants and scanning minerals, taking samples, marking locations. To the Shrikes, this looked like another predator claiming hunting grounds. Jack took nothing. He observed. He moved with the natural flow of the forest. When he found a Shrike kill site, he backed away slowly and chose a different path. He respected their territory not by avoiding it, but by acknowledging their claim to it. The first real contact happened on day 7. Jack was purifying water near a stream when he heard the clicking sound. Shrike communication. Close. Maybe 10 meters away. He didn't freeze, he didn't run. He kept filtering his water while talking softly, not to the Shrike, just talking about what he was doing like he would to himself. The clicking grew closer, then stopped. Jack finished his water, packed his filter, and walked away slowly. He didn't look back. That night he woke to find claw marks on a tree 2 meters from his shelter. Fresh marks. A message. The Shrikes were testing him. Over the next week, they got closer. They'd appear briefly then vanish. They'd click and wait for his response. Jack responded with calm consistency. Same routine, same calm energy, same respect for their space. By day 14, one Shrike sat 30 feet away and watched him eat dinner. Jack slowly pushed some of his dried meat toward it, not as an offering, more like acknowledging they could share the space. The Shrike didn't take it, but it didn't leave either. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The breakthrough came when Jack got injured. Day 16, he was crossing a rocky stream and slipped. His ankle twisted badly. He could put weight on it, but barely. In that forest, an injury like this was a death sentence. He couldn't run, could barely walk. Perfect prey. Jack found shelter under a rock overhang and assessed the damage. Sprained, not broken. He'd need 3 or 4 days of rest. He had enough food and water, but he was completely vulnerable. That night, the clicking sounds surrounded his shelter. Multiple Shrikes, at least 3, maybe 4, all close. Jack stayed calm and kept his small fire burning. He talked quietly, explaining his situation to the darkness like a person might talk to themselves. The Shrikes didn't attack. When dawn came, Jack found something shocking at the edge of his camp, a dead forest creature, something like a rabbit but larger. It was fresh, still warm, and it had been killed cleanly then placed there. The Shrikes had brought him food. Jack sat there staring at this kill for 10 minutes. Every xenobiology text said apex predators don't share food outside their species, especially not with potential rivals. But here was proof they'd hunted, killed, and delivered prey to an injured creature that wasn't one of them. He processed this carefully. He cleaned the animal, cooked it, and ate half. The other half he left at the edge of camp before going back to rest his ankle. The next morning, the leftover meat was gone. In its place was something else. A strange fruit that Jack had seen Shrikes eating. They'd made an exchange. Here's what Jack realized. Shrikes weren't just intelligent, they understood reciprocity. The concept of fair trade. You share with me, I share with you. This wasn't pack-bonding behavior. This was something more sophisticated. Over the next 3 days, while his ankle healed, the exchanges continued. Jack would leave processed food. The Shrikes would bring fresh kills or safe plants. They were teaching each other. But the real shock came when one Shrike entered his shelter. It was early morning. Jack was checking his ankle when he heard breathing, not clicking. Breathing. He looked up slowly. A Shrike stood 3 feet away, close enough to kill him instantly. Jack didn't move, didn't speak, just maintained eye contact and waited. The Shrike extended one clawed limb slowly. In its grip was a plant root Jack didn't recognize. The creature made a soft clicking sound, almost questioning, then placed the root down and backed away. Jack picked it up and examined it. The root smelled medicinal. He'd seen similar plants used by colonists for inflammation. The Shrike had brought him medicine for his injury. That's when Jack understood the truth. These weren't mindless killers, they were people. Different biology, different communication, but fundamentally people. They had culture, they had empathy. They understood cause and effect and could plan for future interactions. The previous teams hadn't been killed by animals. They'd been killed by an intelligent species defending their home from invaders. Jack spent the next week learning their language, basic clicks and posture signals. He learned their names for different areas of the forest. He learned their hunting schedules so he wouldn't accidentally interfere. And they learned about him. 2 Shrikes in particular stayed close, one with a scar across its chest plates, another with unusual blue-tinted eyes. They became his constant companions. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. On day 21, Jack discovered why the Shrikes had really been attacking colonists. And it had nothing to do with territory or hunting. The Shrikes led him deep into the forest, deeper than any human had gone. They moved with purpose, constantly checking that Jack followed. After 3 hours of hiking, they reached a massive clearing. In the center stood structures, not natural formations, actual buildings made from forest materials, and what looked like processed stone. A village, a civilization. Jack stood frozen at the edge. The implications crashed through his mind. These weren't animals. They were a pre-industrial society, and humans had landed on their planet without even realizing an intelligent species lived here. But what the Shrikes showed him next made everything worse. They led him to the largest structure. Inside, scratched onto stone walls, were pictures, a timeline. Jack's translator device picked up enough meaning to understand the story. The Shrikes had lived in peace for generations. Then the sky objects arrived. Human survey drones mapping the planet before colonists landed. The Shrikes thought these were greetings. First contact. They tried to communicate. They sent scouts to interact. The automated drones interpreted Shrike approach behavior as threats. Defense protocols activated. Sonic weapons. Laser targeting. 3 Shrikes died trying to welcome humanity. After that, the Shrikes saw humans as hostile invaders. When colonists arrived and started clearing land near their village, it confirmed their fears. These aliens were taking their home. The research team's fate wasn't an attack. It was a defensive operation. The Shrikes believed they were fighting for survival against an invasion force. And humans had no idea. Jack felt sick. Every death, every disappearance, all of it was a tragic misunderstanding between 2 intelligent species who couldn't communicate. The military response proved to the Shrikes that humans were exactly what they feared, violent conquerors. But here's the part that changed everything. The Shrikes with the scar stepped forward. It clicked a pattern. Jack now understood meant question asking. Then it gestured to him and to the village, to the forest and to the human colony beyond. It was asking, can this end? Can both sides stop? Jack realized the weight of this moment. He wasn't just a colonist anymore. He was accidentally humanity's first ambassador to an intelligent alien species. His answer would determine if this conflict continued, or if peace was possible. He thought about Earth, about humanity's history of meeting new peoples, the mistakes made, the wars fought over miscommunication, all the times his species got it wrong. He made his choice. Jack touched his chest. Shy. Then pointed to the Shrike. He made the clicking pattern for same, equal, people. The Shrike stood still for a long moment. Then it placed one clawed hand on Jack's shoulder. The gesture was unmistakable across species. Acceptance. Agreement. Over the next 2 days Jack learned everything. The Shrikes had sophisticated agriculture. They had art. They had history and oral traditions passed down through generations. They named their children and mourned their dead. They were everything that defined sentience. When Jack finally prepared to leave the forest, 2 Shrikes volunteered to come with him. Scarred chest and blue eyes. They wanted to see the human settlement, to learn if peace was truly possible. Jack walked toward the colony fence with 2 apex predators following calmly behind him. Every weapon on the wall pointed at them. Soldiers screamed orders. Alarms blared. Jack kept walking, and the Shrikes trusted him enough to follow. So what does all this mean for us today? The moment Jack reached the colony gates with 2 Shrikes flanking him, everything humanity thought it knew about first contact collapsed. Within hours the military stood down, not because they weren't scared, but because those 2 Shrikes demonstrated controlled behavior that no animal could manage. They stopped when Jack stopped. They responded to his signals. They even bowed their heads when approaching colonists in a gesture that crossed species lines as non-threatening. The council convened an emergency session. Xenobiologists who'd studied the footage couldn't explain it. Military strategists who'd planned defense scenarios had no protocols for this. One human had accomplished what millions of credits in technology and weapons couldn't. He'd made peace. But here's what matters for anyone hearing this story. Jack didn't have special training. He wasn't a diplomat or a genius. He simply treated unknown intelligence with the respect he'd want for himself. Every other human approached Viridian Prime's forest with assumptions. Assumptions that apex predators meant animals, that territorial behavior meant mindless aggression, that showing strength would establish dominance. Jack approached with questions instead of answers, with observation instead of action, and critically with humility instead of confidence. The method he used is now called the Reeves Protocol. It's taught in every colonial training program. The core principles are simple. Assume intelligence until proven otherwise. Mirror, don't dominate. Respect resources before claiming them. And most importantly, understand that fear drives violence more than malice. Within 3 months, human and Shrike representatives established regular communication. The colony relocated its fences away from Shrike territory. Shrikes shared knowledge about forest plants that improved human agriculture. Both sides gained. But the implications went far beyond one colony. The Galactic Council had 60 member species. All of them had followed similar patterns to humanity. Survey from orbit. Test for technology. If none detected, assume no intelligence. Colonize accordingly. Jack's discovery proved this method was catastrophically flawed. How many other worlds hosted intelligent species that humanity and other races had dismissed as animals? How many conflicts started from the same misunderstanding? The Council commissioned a full review. They found evidence of at least 11 other cases where colonists reported unusually aggressive wildlife that might actually be defending civilizations. Earth's reputation shifted overnight. Humans went from being seen as aggressive newcomers to the species that figured out peaceful first contact through simple empathy. Other races studied Jack's methods. His approach became standard protocol. For individual humans, this story offers a critical lesson. Intelligence takes many forms. Just because someone communicates differently doesn't mean they have nothing to say. Just because someone lives differently doesn't mean they're primitive. The 2 Shrikes who came with Jack stayed at the colony for 6 months. They learned basic human language. They taught colonists Shrike ecology. Blue Eyes even participated in a joint agricultural project that doubled crop yields by using Shrike knowledge of soil patterns. Scarred Chest became something unexpected, a mediator. When disputes arose between humans and Shrikes, this warrior who'd once killed to defend its people now helped both sides understand each other. Today, Viridian Prime is the model for integrated colonies. Humans and Shrikes live separately but cooperate constantly. Trade flourishes. Cultural exchange happens. Children of both species grow up seeing the other as neighbors instead of threats. But none of this was inevitable. It happened because one human chose curiosity over fear, because he walked into danger believing connection was possible. because he respected life different from his own. The military still wanted to study Jack's techniques. Scientists still wanted to understand how he bonded with apex predators so quickly. But what Jack told them in his final report made everyone reconsider what they thought they knew about humanity. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. Jack's official report to the Galactic Council included one paragraph that made every alien species reassess their understanding of humans. He wrote, "I didn't tame the Shrikes. They chose to trust me. The difference matters." But what he said privately to the xenobiology team was even more revealing. The scientist wanted to know how he'd survived those first dangerous days, how he'd remained calm when surrounded by predators that could kill him instantly. They expected tactical answers, combat training, psychological techniques. Jack's answer was simpler and more profound. "I grew up on Arctic Station 7. Every day polar storms could kill you in minutes. The cold didn't care about your plans. You survived by respecting it, not fighting it. The Shrikes were the same. I didn't survive because I was tough. I survived because I knew how to be small." That last phrase caught everyone's attention. Knew how to be small. He explained further. Humanity's greatest survival trait isn't aggression or intelligence or technology. It's adaptability born from weakness. Humans evolved as mid-tier predators on Earth, not apex, not dominant, just clever enough to survive in a world full of things that could eat them. This created a unique psychology. Humans learned to read other predators, to understand their patterns, to find ways to coexist because fighting meant dying. Every other species that reached space did so as their planet's apex predator. They evolved expecting dominance. Humans evolved expecting to negotiate. That's why Jack succeeded where others failed. Military teams approached the forest like apex predators reclaiming territory. Jack approached it like what humans actually were, adaptable survivors looking for a way to fit in. The Shrikes recognized this. They'd dealt with apex predators before, other forest creatures that fought for dominance. But Jack showed them something different. A creature strong enough to be dangerous, but choosing not to be. That kind of strength impressed them more than violence ever could. The two Shrikes who bonded with Jack weren't tamed pets. They were colleagues, partners. They chose to work with him because he'd proven humans could be trusted. That choice rippled across both species. 5 years after Jack's walk into the forest, there are now 20 integrated colonies on Viridian Prime. Shrikes and humans have joint governing councils. Mixed teams explore the planet together, and the violence everyone expected never materialized. All because one human understood something profound. Being an apex predator isn't about dominance, it's about choice. And humans are most dangerous when they choose peace, because that choice comes from strength, not weakness. Jack still lives on Viridian Prime. Scarred chest and blue eyes built their dens near his home. They hunt together sometimes. They share meals, and they're teaching both species that the gap between human and alien might not be as wide as anyone thought. The forest that once meant death became a bridge between worlds. And the apex predators everyone feared became proof that intelligence and compassion exist in forms we're only beginning to understand. If this opened your eyes, there's something even more remarkable you need to hear. Let's recap what we've uncovered. First, the deadliest predators on Viridian Prime turned out to be an intelligent civilization defending their home from what they thought was an invasion. Second, one unarmed human succeeded where military teams failed by choosing respect over dominance. And third, humanity's greatest survival trait isn't strength but our evolutionary experience as underdogs who learn to adapt instead of conquer. These revelations changed how 60 species across the galaxy approach first contact. The Reeves Protocol is now standard procedure. Countless conflicts were avoided because Jack Reeves walked into a dark forest and chose to be curious instead of afraid. But here's what makes this story matter right now. We face the same choice every day, maybe not with alien predators but with people who think differently, who communicate differently, who live differently than we do. We can approach them with assumptions and dominance, or we can approach with questions and respect. Jack proved that the second option isn't weakness, it's sophisticated strength, the kind that builds bridges instead of walls, The kind that creates partnerships instead of conflicts. The kind that turns potential enemies into friends. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into humanity's encounters across the stars and the lessons they teach us about ourselves. Every week we uncover stories that challenge what we think we know about being human in a universe full of different minds. Drop a like if you want to see more first contact stories. And here's a question for the comments. If you had to walk into unknown danger with only one tool, would you choose a weapon or a gift? Your answer reveals more about human nature than you might think. For those wanting to go deeper, check out the next video where we explore what happened when humans encountered a species that communicated entirely through color changes. The translation breakthrough that emerged rewrote our understanding of language itself. And if you're fascinated by how humans adapt to impossible situations, watch our playlist on colonial survival stories. From ice worlds to toxic atmospheres, humans find ways to thrive that constantly surprise our alien neighbors. Here's the truth the galaxy learned from Jack Reeves. Humanity isn't special because we're the smartest or the strongest. We're special because millions of years of being neither taught us something more valuable: how to survive by connecting, how to thrive by cooperating, how to turn strangers into family. The forest on Viridian Prime still stands. The Shrikes still hunt there. But now human children play near the tree line while Shrike younglings watch curiously. Both groups learning that the scariest thing in the universe isn't the predator in the dark. It's the wall we build in our own minds that says different must mean dangerous. Jack tore that wall down. The question is, what walls are we ready to demolish? Thanks for watching. And remember, the apex predator isn't always the one with the sharpest teeth. Sometimes it's the one with the open hand.